Bonjour, Sophie.
Bonjour, Sandrine.
So it's now been, I think, about to the day 6 months since you took over Hydro-Québec, a company that has a very important significance for the province and very big ambitions for the region. You had plans for a sabbatical, writing a book, learning, teaching, and the government came calling. You took that job, but 20,000 employees, I believe, in the middle of the pandemic. Tell us, what's the first decision you made?
Well, the first decision you make is not to take over Hydro-Québec. You actually join a formidable organization. And the first decision I made with myself was to make sure that we were adopting a mental posture of elevating ourselves to a greater good than just our own need. And actually, that's one of the reasons I joined Hydro-Québec. A very specific decision I take was to make sure that our management committee would have the parity zone between women and men. It was due, it's now the case, and I believe it helps us to make a better decision.
We often talk about the importance of parity, of diversity in management, on boards. Is there anything that these appointments have already changed, you think, in the view, or the decisions that have been made since?
Well, I think there is not a cassure, there is not a breakup point. I think collectively, the world now recognizes that we have humongous challenges in front of us and that we need to tap into all the talent, the brightness, the experience that we can. And this means as much as we can quickly to get to equality of representation between men and women around decision-making tables. Would that be small projects, executive table, board tables? But we cannot stop that. The diversity of culture, again, of experience, is going to be formidably important because we have world challenges that need worldwide experience, look at, and contributions.
In particular, I know you've been looking at visible minorities at Hydro-Québec, and you're aiming to increase that percentage. Do you have any goals for the next 2 years, perhaps, or 5 years? Have you set yourself some goals for that?
Well, we have goals, but frankly speaking, I am behind goals, quantitative goals. The goal I have is to make sure that, again, we develop a mental posture regarding diversity that will go beyond what the law requires or whatever quotas we can get or specific numbers that we can have. Again, it's a matter of doing the right thing for the people themselves, for the company, and ultimately for the society as a whole.
So you don't have quotas at this stage? Or?
Yeah, no, it's not a matter of quota. I am not fond of quotas. I think I would say, to give you an image, when we walk down the streets in Montreal, we see a reality. I would like that Hydro-Québec within its walls would display the same reality. That would be the goal.
So maybe we can talk a little bit about the situation when you arrived. We've seen the financial results for Hydro-Québec for the first half of the year, and it's a reflection of demand going down in Quebec, but also in your export market. Where are things now? I mean, of course, I'm speaking from Quebec, where a whole part of the economy has just been shut down again. But did you get a sense in the second half of the year, in the first few months of the second half, that demand was getting back to, say, normal levels?
Oh, I think it will take some time, Sandrine. It will take some time. And as we speak, we are embarking in what seems to be a second wave of this thing. So it would be very presumptuous for me to even say what I do believe will be the rebound time. What I do know, though, is that more than ever, we need to be working very hard. And not only within our respective regions, but elevating again ourselves and look on the horizon and say, we need to work together. Everybody needs to work together because we're in it together. So we have a choice to make. And the choice is, how are we going to invest the money kickstart the economy on its rebound. And we have a choice. We have a choice to invest a dollar for a dollar in one crisis, or we have a choice to use the same dollar to work on two crises at the same time, i.e., getting out of the ditch economically wise, collectively, and working on this energy transition that is so required. So that's how I see things moving on. Hydro-Québec is very solid financially speaking, and we know we are privileged in that regard. That said, we have a responsibility toward our customers, and many of them are suffering. So we're working very hard to help them go through this period. We're going to be an active player in our economy to see how we can maybe advance some of the investments we would have made maybe a bit later. Not making investment we don't need, for sure, investment that will be required, but maybe do them in advance to help our economy. But beyond that, what I really hope for and dream for and work for is to make sure that as a region, when we look at our neck of the wood, and I'm not talking only Quebec here, but the whole northeast of the continent, how can we work better to make sure that we serve energy to the cheapest cost possible to our customer and to have the cleanest energy possible for them to use?
And I'm going to get back to that in a minute. But just in terms of demand, I mean, do you see some improvement though?
Yes, we did. We did see some improvement, and some areas industrially are on the rebound. What I'm saying is that again, I think it's very presumptuous to say it's going to hold on, it's going to increase again. I think we need to advance. I am personally optimistic by nature, but I am also very cautiously looking at the reality right now. And we were privileged in Canada and in Quebec to have a good financial situation from the outset. So I do believe that we're going to go through this. Hydro-Québec will kick back. Our customers will come back, but we need to do it swiftly and again, collectively invest our money so intelligently. Money is precious. Money is really precious.
So speaking of, were there some projects that you had to put on the back burner because of COVID? I think especially overseas, not mentioning the US, but further away, you had some ambitions that you had to dial back a little bit?
Frankly, it was not a dialing back, it was using another phone. If I was to use that analogy, a few years ago, in the 90s, Hydro-Québec invested a lot of money successfully in acquiring infrastructures in the rest of the world. That was then and this is now. And now these plays are really plays of pension funds, I do believe. And the capital cost is so low within their hands. Hydro-Québec is not a pension fund. We're not a financial player. We are an industrial operator. So if we do acquire a company anywhere in the world, it will be because we will bring something to the table, industrially speaking. That said, right now, and even before the pandemic, I believe that North America presents a whole bunch of opportunities for a lot of us to work together. And when I look at focusing the energy, focusing the human resources and talent, I think there is a lot to do on the continent right now. Research-wise, it will be worthwhile. We have partnerships across the world, but I don't see our people, traveling the world to find a company to buy. And before I buy a disrupt LDC in South America, I think there is better things for us to do in our neck of the wood right now.
So let's talk about the neck of the wood. Everybody, I think, now is wondering what is going on with New York. There is a political will that's been openly expressed, but nothing's happening. So could you tell us what the main hurdle is at this stage?
Well, I wouldn't say that nothing is happening. This is probably a place where pandemic circumstances stop conversations for a while. But right now, I think all the stars are aligned, frankly speaking, for a transmission line to be built, project to be built. We are having very productive conversations with both the government and the cities in New York. New York has given itself very ambitious goals. And so the time is now. We're working very hard to make it happen, and we're having those conversations as we speak.
So what's holding it back? Because these conversations have been going for a while, and I know COVID has probably, of course, kept everyone very busy. Is there something specific that is still a hurdle?
Yeah, the specificity, and I think it's an important message for me to carry. I think, and maybe I am naive here, Sandrine, but I like to be because I think that in those circumstances we have to be. I am naive in the sense that I think that the time has gone where everybody needs to think about energy on a competitive basis. There are so many things to do, so much to realize, so huge challenges to overtake that we now need to think about our respective capacities as complementary. Hydro-Québec is not coming to the market to displace anybody. And we certainly want to work hard in helping, for example, New York State in building its own renewable energy, and any states in the US to build its own renewable energy. When we do that, we'll be providing energy for sure, but we would like, and that's what we see, we want the people to understand that the big hydroelectricity reservoir that we have is actually the greatest battery and the cheapest battery. Then people south of the border may have to back up their own wind projects or solar projects wherever they are. So when I look at what is needed in New York for a while, and I think it's fair to say, maybe people saw Hydro-Québec as being very invasive, very big, and flooding the market, which is absolutely not the case. So right now, what we need is to have hydroelectricity be recognized as a renewable energy that is bringing something very tangible, environmentally speaking. Hydro-Québec can beat any renewable energy prices in the US. We can meet and even beat the price, but we need to be recognized as this with this contribution. If we can have that, then we can absorb through our pricing the price of the line that needs to be built. So that's what I wouldn't say is missing. That's the link that we need to put together. Again, I am pretty optimistic that the conversations we're having right now will see through the light of day.
So for you to be recognized as that, it's a commission that has to declare you as a renewable, and that goes into subsidies. Is that right?
Well, I don't like the word subsidies. I think that what we need is for any renewable energy to be, whatever it is, to be recognized with its contribution. And if you are working in an environment where there is no price on carbon, then there is not an implicit price into alternatives. So you need to have every renewable energy to be seen as a contributor to reduce that carbon price, this carbon footprint. So, and again, I believe that the conversations we're having will allow for that. It will be up to the New York. It will be up to the New York authorities to elect and decide how they want to go about it.
So I sense. I mean, you sound like you're optimistic it's going to be recognized as a renewable.
Well, I am optimistic, and my optimism comes from the fact that the goals that the state has given itself, rightfully so, are very challenging. And in order for the state to be able to acknowledge all the renewable energy that will be provided, for example, from the offshore wind, at one point there will need to be some balancing. There will need to be a line. There will be a need for access to the reservoir. We've been building capacity for the last 30 years, more so in the last 12. For the last 30 years, no line were built going south of the border. We have two very important projects in front of us right now. These are what we are working on, and I am profoundly convinced that our neck of the wood, our region, the whole U.S. and Canada Northeast have a formidable opportunity to think globally, using our own competitive advantage and comparative advantage, but we will be so brighter, more intelligent. We will develop our economies much faster, and more in a more cleaner way if we do work together. That's my conviction. And this is why I embarked into this great journey at Hydro-Québec. That's my fundamental belief. The time is gone for having each our own toys and Tonka in our sandboxes. We need to share.
Sophie, your predecessor had opened the door to building another big dam in the future. Is that something, given the circumstances and given the way people feel about dams, is it still something on the table?
It's not because of what the people feel about dams, because dams, well done, can be great. It's about the reality of the market. So I will never say that there won't be any dams built anymore in Quebec. Who am I to say something like that? But I don't see that in the short to medium term. And the reason being that, for a long, long time, the utilities and the way the energy industry was built, being in the oil, gas, I ran a natural gas distributor, so I know what I'm talking from. So energy was starting with the production, then the transportation, the transmission, then distribution, and then the customer. Well, the reality is that today we need to turn this thing upside down. And this is why it's so suffering for industries, because we need to start from the customer, who happen to be a citizen, who happen to be a taxpayer, and who happen to have environmental hopes. We start from that individual, and then we build the system up. Obviously, it's an image. You don't spin industries like that. But if you start with the customer and you understand that there will be distributed production, when you understand that there will be solar roof on their houses, when you understand that they will have electric cars where we'll be able to use the battery if there is a disruption in the service, the whole notion of reliability becomes very, very legitimate and important, but you start thinking about the system very differently. So coming back to your answer, to your question, we need to start from the customer, not from the dams. So I don't see that in the short term. And just efficiency programs, let me give you an example. We need to increase that. We need, as utilities, as energy providers, we need to help the citizen, the taxpayer, the individual to use less of what we sell them. It is our responsibility. But in the last 15 years, Hydro-Québec deployed efficiency programs that are the exact equivalent, it's just like that, of 10 terawatt hours. 10 terawatt hours is the contract that Hydro-Québec signed with Massachusetts. So it's a dam in itself. And we have that around us. You have that around you in New York. And you know what? For example, New York and its boroughs have the same population than we have in the overall Quebec. Right there in New York, there is a humongous well of energy efficiency and that delays or maybe prevent costly investments. So the thing is not a financial thing. The thing is a consumers-driven thing.
We don't have a lot of time left. I'd like to ask you, what's the biggest opportunity to sell more power at home, would you say? Is it electric cars, cryptocurrency mining, hydrogen, data center? In a short answer.
Yeah, and again, I am picky on the words, but it's the opportunity not to sell energy, it's the opportunity to use energy more efficiently. So hydrogen is clearly something that is very important to Hydro-Québec. This is the next frontier. You know, hydrogen is not an end in itself. It's a mean to something else. When you look across the world, everybody has a piece, an ingredient of the recipe. Nobody really made the cake rise yet. But definitely, if you have green energy, renewable energy, and you can make green hydrogen, this is going to be a very interesting journey for us. You can use hydrogen as a fuel to move cars. You can inject it in natural gas distribution system to make it renewable. One day, you will capture CO2, you will mix it with clean hydrogen, and you will put it in networks, and it will be completely renewable natural gas, and we will be able to electrify thermal loads that today need to be served with fossil fuels. That's the future. That's frankly the next frontier for Hydro-Québec.